Chapter 2. No way out. The training room is deserted at this early hour in the morning. Everyone always trains until very late at night, so 6 a.m. is not an hour to be awake. But someone is, waiting impatiently to leave for his mission, playing with the blade of his knife, throwing it in front of him, watching with satisfaction as the tip of the blade disappears deep within the floor. Dale has given him all the instructions he needs to see through his delicate mission. They've already done this kind of thing, of course. Kidnapping, ransom, all of that. But never to such a popular company as LeeCorp. They need to be careful. And that's part of why Dale was so adamant to send 10. It's their best soldier. Their most skilled assassin and most loyal member. He has never, ever disappointed them. And even with his history with LeeCorp and his desire for revenge, Dale knows he will follow orders. Jaehyun, another member of their gang, has been called on this mission as well, to get Mr. Lee away from his personal residence during the time 10 will be there. Leaving his son alone with barely 2 security guards? A piece of cake. 10 expects to be done in an hour. He watches the ends of the clock move, slowly. Way too slowly. He has never looked forward to a mission that much as he does now. His leg is shaking in anticipation and his knife throws gets faster and faster with time. Finally, as the clock strikes 7, 10 stands up so fast it makes his head dizzy. He smiles, checking one last time that he has everything with him. Guns, knives, phone, rope, ketamine. He's ready. When he walks out of the training room, he runs into Yuta and Winwin, together again. Always. The bags under his eyes shows how little they slept. 10 doesn't talk to them. They don't talk to him. 10 knows he isn't the most affectionate or talkative out of all of them, but he likes every person in the Eye of the Dragon, truly. He considers them all his family. 10 has been here for a few years already, and has known some of them from the beginning. Others arrived along the way. But sometimes, and today's one of those times, he just doesn't want to see any of them. He rushes out of the room into the parking lot where a driver is waiting for him. They hired him especially for this job. He doesn't know anything about their gang, about who hired him and why. He's only been told where to go and when to leave. The rest he doesn't need to know. That way, if the mission fails or if the police get their hands on him, he wouldn't be able to reveal anything to them. 10 gets in the car and gestures for the driver to get going. They drive smoothly through the streets of Busan. It doesn't take them very long to reach the Lee personal residence, and as they drive up the street to their mansion, they notice Lee's car leaving his driveway to meet Jaehyun at a cafe downtown, far from here. The timing is on point, as always. The driver parks the car on the other side of the sidewalk, and from there, it's up to 10. The mansion is surrounded by high cement walls with an electronic portal for the entrance. 10 knows the security inside the mansion is minimal, so he doesn't try to be discreet in any way. He still wears a black mask to hide most of his face for the cameras. He climbs the portal, his leather fingerless gloves gripping the wall and allowing him to hold himself over the portal to land in the paved alleyway leading to the house. 10 knows there are cameras everywhere from here, and he needs to act fast so the security guards don't have time to contact the police. It doesn't take them long to show up. One of the guards gets out of the house from the main entrance, probably thinking he's faced with a random thug that he can easily take care of. "Hey, what are you doing here? This is private property. Get out or I'll call the police." The guard barks at him when he is only 6 feet away from him. The second guard is walking towards them at quite a distance. 10 smiles. He draws his favorite knife faster than the guy can even realize, and the next thing he knows, he's choking on his own blood. Throat slit so cleanly. He's bleeding on his shirt, holding his throat in his hands, in shock, before he falls face down on the hard paved floor. As soon as his colleague drops dead on the ground, the other guard reaches for his phone to call the police. A stupid attempt if you ask Dan. He draws a dagger and throws it. It rips through the air at an incredible speed and sinks through the guard's forehead, finding its way to his skull. Then second opponent drops to the floor in a loud thud. His phone lies on the floor next to his corpse. It seems he has had the time to dial the police number because a crackling voice asks, "Busan Metropolitan Police Agency, what is your emergency?" Dan walks to the phone and picks it up. "Hello? Sorry, I must have dialed the wrong number. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience." He hangs up and puts the phone back in his pocket. The first part of the mission is now cleared. He looks up at the mansion standing towering over him, its white immaculate walls almost blinding. The boy must be somewhere inside, probably sleeping at this early hour in the morning. Dan knows this will be easy, easier than he would have thought. He's going to make Lee regret ever being born, and this mission is only the beginning. He slides inside through the open glass front door, making sure not to make any noise. The house is huge and Tan has no idea where to search first. He goes for the ground floor, navigating through the rich furniture, all marble and modernity, a weird classic concept that Tan despises. Classically, making money on the back of his workers, letting them die just so he can buy fancy furniture. Tan wants to spit on his corpse. The ground floor is empty and of little importance, except maybe for Lee's office, but Tan has a mission and he can't stray. He walks up the stairs, one by one, softly, his comfort boots not making any noise on the soft carpeted steps. When he reaches the first floor, Tan notices Lee's son's room at once. The door is slightly open and plunged in darkness. He can make out a shape in the bed, barely moving. Tan pushes the door open slowly so he can slip inside. The room is neat and tidy for a teenager. The desk is clean, books neatly placed on the shelves. Tan notices a picture on the bedside table. It's a boy, no older than 17, with someone who Tan supposes might be his younger brother in his arms, both smiling so wide. He hasn't been informed of Vanessa's son in the house, and Tan wonders what has happened to that kid. He turns from the bedside table to look at the boy, Taeyong, if Tan remembers well, sleeping soundly under the covers. His hair is bright red, and falling softly in front of his eyes. His facial features are sharp, but they look softened with sleep. Tan actually stops for a second, just watching him breathe calmly, his eyelids fluttering, not expecting for a second what is about to happen to him. Tan almost feels bad for him. Almost. It's just a boy, around Tan's age, caught in this conflict. All because of his father. Tan knows he doesn't deserve any of this, but deep inside him, if he can hurt Lee that way, he's ready to go for it. Tan gets his knife out, just for good measure. He knows he's not allowed to hurt him, at least not now. What happens next happens too fast for Taeyong to have time to react. He finds himself jolted awake by a guy binding him down on the bed, straddling him, one leg on his left arm, his other arm restrained by the guy's strong grip. He has a knife in his right hand, and before Taeyong can even have time to scream, he presses it against the soft skin of his neck threateningly. "You make a sound, and you're dead," Tan says between his teeth. The blade on Taeyong's neck draws a small drop of blood that drips onto the sheets, staining them with red. Taeyong's eyes are blown wide open, frozen in place, unable to react, or even move, feeling the pressure and strength of Tan's body restraining him. Taeyong can barely make out his face in the darkness of the room. He notices silver strands of hair and piercings glinting in the ray of light coming from the window. Who are you?" Taeyong manages to mutter, his voice shaking. He can see the shadow of a smile blooming on the intruder's face. You'll find out soon enough. The answers and the words spoken in such a cold tone sent shivers down Taeyoung's spine. Taeyoung gulps and feels the blade on his throat moving at the same time. He can barely feel his left hand anymore, crushed under the guy's knee, pressing him down. He tries wiggling his fingers to get some sensation back. In vain. He's breathing with difficulty, paralyzed with the fear of what the intruder plans to do to him. Why is he here? Is he going to kill him? The thought brings tears to Taeyoung's eyes. Ten's expression turns to confusion when he sees the boy's teary eyes. He had expected everything. A struggle, screams, but him crying he hadn't planned. Ten can't help but notice how beautiful he looks, all vulnerable, eyes shining with tears, his bare chest barely covered by the sheets. He hopes the boy can't see the way his cheeks flush in the dark. He's killed hundreds of people. His presence itself inspires fear to anyone who dares oppose him, and here he is, blushing because of a pretty half-naked boy. He shakes his head in disbelief. It would be such a pity to taint this beauty with blood, though. Ten hopes it won't come to this. He removes the knee restraining him, and Taeyoung can finally get some sensations back in his arm. Ten retrieves his silenced gun from his thigh holster and points it at Taeyoung's head, watching him as he closes his eyes shut. I'm not gonna shoot, Ten says, rolling his eyes and completely removing himself from Taeyoung. Get dressed, and then you're coming with me. Taeyoung opens his eyes again, slowly, the gun barrel still aimed at his face. Without saying anything, Taeyoung gets up in his bed. The sheets slide to reveal more of his chest, and Ten averts his gaze for a second. He mentally slaps himself. He's trained for how long? 4 years already? And the number one rule is to never lose focus of your target. Not even for a pretty boy. Taeyoung stands up in his boxes and walks to his desk, where a pair of jeans is neatly folded on the chair. Ten watches him carefully, and he doesn't miss when Taeyoung reaches out discreetly for his phone on the wooden desk. Ten doesn't hesitate and shoots. The bullet whistles through the air, flying so close to Taeyoung's ear he freezes in shock, his hands just centimeters away from his phone. Ten doesn't lose a second and moves swiftly through the room like a snake, getting Taeyoung in a chokehold. The boy can barely breathe with Ten's muscle armed, restraining him firmly. Ten is so close to him, Taeyoung can feel his breath on his neck. That's such a pity. You should have behaved, Ten whispers, his voice deep, right next to Taeyoung's ear. And before Taeyoung can even realize what is happening, he feels a sting in the back of his neck as a dart of ketamine is being injected into his body. In a matter of seconds, Taeyoung's vision is getting blurry and he can barely stand on his feet. Ten is holding him strongly and starts dragging him out of his room. Taeyoung can see it. He can feel the steps as they get down the stairs, but his brain doesn't seem to register anything. The sounds are muffled. It almost feels as if he's underwater. By the time they reach the ground floor, Taeyoung is unconscious. It takes Ten no longer than 5 minutes to tie him up with the rope he brought with him. He carries him out outside in his arms, and it almost looks like he's sleeping. He walks fast down the alleyway, avoiding the bodies on his way, and opens the portal with the keys he found on Taeyoung's bedside table. The driver already has the engine running when he arrives. He puts Taeyoung in the truck carefully and closes it with a loud bang. A minute later, and they're driving off back to the headquarters of the Eye of the Dragon. The ride back is quiet, the driver not daring to ask any question about who is in the truck. Ten looks down at his hands and notices how his fingerless gloves are stained with blood. Probably when he slit that security guard's throat. He pouts. He knows he can do better than that. He will need more training. Ten can't even count how many ragdolls he has slit open while training. And Tail always complains about how they constantly need to buy a new one because Ten ruins them in a matter of seconds. We're here, the driver says finally, dragging Ten out of his train of thought. Ten retrieves Taeyong from the trunk and leaves him next to the door leading to the stairs. He's still unconscious, but Ten knows it won't last long. Ten leans on the driver's open window, staring at him intensely. Now you leave, and if you tell anyone about anything, we will find you and we will kill you. The driver nods quickly and is out of the place in seconds. Ten watches him go with a satisfied smile. You stole that line, a voice says from behind him. Ten turns around only to see Johnny looking at him with an amused expression. Leaning on the cement wall, in his all-black suit, cigarette in hand, he looks like the epitome of the modern gangster. He's wearing an expensive watch on his wrist, and his long slim fingers hold the cigarette with a certain elegance Ten has never acquired. What are you doing here? Did Tail ask you to watch me? Ten says with a look of defiance. Well, he was worried, but he trusts you. I'm here on my own to see how you handled it, Johnny answers with a smile. Seems like your guy is waking up already. You should take care of that. Johnny's right. Taeyong's eyes fluttering open, all drowsy from the drug, not really registering what has happened to him or where he is. Ten sighs. He figured it would happen. He retrieves a used scotch tape from his bag and, kneeling in front of Taeyong, tapes his mouth shut in case he would want to scream in panic. The action has Taeyong's eyes flying open, regaining almost all of his consciousness. He tries to scream for help, but the tape muffles every sound he tries to make. His eyes look from left to right in a frenzy, from Ten to Johnny, registering on none of them will be merciful. He feels the tears coming up to his eyes, and the next moment he's crying, tears falling, rolling down the smooth surface of the tape and onto the floor. Ten can't stop looking at him. He's amazed by the way his eyes shine with the artificial light of the parking lot and the wetness of his tears. He looks ethereal, and so easy to break. Ten's thumb wipes his tears from his cheek in a soft gesture. Let's get you somewhere comfortable, shall we? He whispers, his fingers tracing the side of his cheek to his jawline. Taeyong has stopped crying and making desperate sounds. He's looking at Ten now, but his eyes betray him, and Ten can read fright in them. Frightened, curiosity. An idea starts to grow inside of Ten at the sight, but he keeps it quiet, eaten away from now. Since when did you become such a softie? Johnny interrupts with a loud laugh. Ten rolls his eyes. He gets up again, facing Johnny. Or rather, Johnny's torso, since the guy is as tall as a tree. Leave me alone, he growls, picking Taeyong up in his arms and surprisingly not meeting any resistance. The boy has probably accepted his fate. Our little Tenny has a soft spot, Johnny says, delighted, in that tone that Ten hates so much that publicly says, the whole gang is gonna hear about this. Fuck right off, Ten replies, giving him the finger while disappearing through the stairs. Tail shuffles through the files spread out on his desk. Maps, reports, information. He sighs. His eye can't seem to focus on the writings. It's almost 9 in the morning already, and Tail still hasn't gotten an ounce of sleep. He knows he needs to rest, but he can't allow himself to do so. It's their boss. To all of them. It's his job. To make them more powerful, to get them money, to protect them. There are so many things to focus on at once. Spreading their drug dealing network, one of their most profitable activity. Bringing Lee Corp down, getting control back in West Busan, especially the nightclubs and bars, which leads to their confrontation with the 7 stars. And Tail is the only one to plan everything out. He's always been a genius at this. When he got into the Eye of the Dragon at 18 years old, he proved himself to be a very valuable asset and wonderful manipulator, and none of his plans ever failed. The previous boss and he worked closely together, and he was strongly believed to take the lead of the gang when it would be necessary. And a year later, here he was. He had really considered refusing. He had never been a leader, never had this much responsibility. He wasn't sure he had the shoulders for it. But he had Johnny. Doesn't remember ever not having Johnny. He had convinced him, told him he believed in him. He knew he could do this, and he would be there for him, always. Both of them, they didn't do very pretty things in the past, and won't do better in the future. But if there is anyone in the world they can count on, it's each other. A frantic knocking on the door rouses him from his thoughts, and he realizes he still hasn't gotten anything done. "You can come in," he says loudly. He already knows who it is, of course. He would recognize that excited knocking anywhere. He can't help the fond smile that blooms on his face when a mess of tangled blonde hair storms into the room, all out of breath. "Hi, Jisung." "Hyung," the boy says, trying to catch his breath and talk all at once. "Then, he came back." Tail watches him closely, his hair all messy and growing too long again, too fast. His small eyes glinting with excitement, his training gear torn in places, his hands dirty and his knees crept and bloody. "What happened? What did you do again?" Tail asks, eyeing at Jisung's funny injury, worry tainting his voice. Everything that has to do with Jisung is a source of worry for Tail. He's his older brother, and his only family. He has to take care of him. And sometimes he put a bit too much heart into his responsibility. After all, it's always been both of them together against the world. I went outside. I tried climbing walls and fences. I can't do that inside the training room, and it's so fun. Oh, and I went skateboarding too. Tail sighs. He knows how much effort Jisung is putting into his training. He wants to become the most amazing soldier this gang has ever known, to quote his words. But he's only 16. He's still a child, and Tail doesn't want him to lose all his innocence yet. He refuses for him to go on any mission before he reaches 18 years old, and Jisung hates it. Tail knows him. He knows he feels frustrated, not being able to help, being stuck inside the headquarters, condemned to only be training for years. He knows he wants to prove himself to Tail, to show him he's ready, and that's why he's getting more and more reckless. "Stick to the training room, okay? I know it's no fun, but I don't want you to getting hurt," Tail says softly. Jisung looks down at his feet, whimpering a small okay. It hurts Tail to see him so down, but it's for his own good. "So, tennis back, you said?" Tail asks with a smile. "You did it?" Jisung's smile is back on his face in a fraction of a second. It's the most exciting thing happening inside the headquarters for a good long while. Jisung has never seen any hostage taking in his life, so he's overly interested and plans on following everything that is happening very closely. "Yes, he did. I passed by him in the corridor, and he was carrying a boy with red hair and bringing him into the detention room." Perfect. Everything was going accordingly to plan. Tail knew he could count on 10. Most of all, he was relieved his history and grudges with Jacob didn't obstruct his objective when the time came. And he trusts it won't happen in the future either. Because 10 is about to be a key part in this operation.